sorry for it.
That Valley of Guangzhou was the first real movies I saw when I was maybe 14.
Oh, really? Here in
No, in France.
In France.
And I thought it was amazing, but I always wanted to ask you, why did you set the movie in the Far West environment?
Well, that was basically Willis O'Brien's story. He started it in 1942, and it was called off. He never got it beyond the planning stage. And I had this, he gave me a script years ago, and we were looking for a project one time, and we found the script and decided to try to modify it to fit the present demands.
And you thought the Western type?
We felt, well, the whole thing was based on the Western idea of cowboys are very popular, dinosaurs are popular, you put the two together, you must have a hit. But they didn't put it on the market properly. The management changed. Gracias. Thank you. The management of Warner Brothers changed, and they just dumped the picture on the market.
I saw it as a double bill.
Yeah,
really loud
terrible. We were so
But
upset.
I was crazy when it came out, because there was a time when the movies were very cheap. You could get in a theater for nothing.
Yes.
So I didn't even pay attention to what I was looking at. I would go to the theater just to see movies. I saw Valley of Guangzhou and I saw this cowboys guy. So I said, hey, it's a Western. Should be good. And then I saw the demo.
How many people have seen a dinosaur being roped?
Oh, I've seen it.
You've seen it on Guangzhou.
It's at the bottom of a cliff.
Yes,
And they surround it, and it goes like this. Yeah, I remember very well.
Yes, well, we thought that would be a big success, but unfortunately, they just dumped the picture on the market. Because the new management took over and didn't like anything the previous management of the studio had sanctioned.
It seems to be always a big problem. But when you're talking about stop motion animation, people always think that it's a very small bunch of people working all alone in a very dark area, and compared to other movies with big special effects, like they are employing 300 or 400 people.
I know.
It's very, very strange. How do you react to this when people ask you how do you work? And
Well, everybody does think there's a lot of people. They don't realize I do it all myself. I make the drawings and sketch out. I make the continuity drawings. And because there's a certain type of thing I like to do. And I get a great deal of enjoyment planning a picture, even and going on location, looking for the locations. I'm co-producer with Mr. Schneer. We've made a lot of pictures together, and I do all the animation myself except the last film. I had to have help because we got behind schedule, and we had a definite date to deliver the picture, so I had to catch up. So I hired 2 more people.
so in fact you're making all the job that a movie requires. I mean, you're set designer, you direct the small
The art
actors.
director takes my drawings and builds his designs around my drawings.
And you control the photography, I suppose?
We get the best photographers, but I control the special photographing, of combining the model with the people.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you which animation specialist of now you think is the closest to the spirit of your work?
Well, see, there are not many people who do the type of pictures we do, where there's a central character that's animated that goes right through the picture. There are many young, talented people. ILM has a number of them who are growing up. Industrial Light and
Yeah, I
Magic.
was thinking of Phil Tippett.
Phil Tippett is a very good animator. There are several young people that are very good, but they don't make the pictures the way we did. They probably do not want to. We get criticized many times because they say, oh, we don't want pictures with dinosaurs in it or that type of thing. But a lot of people like it, and we found enough following that we were able to make the type of pictures we have made.
Let's talk about the Clash of the Titans. you never had, until this movie, you never had real big name actors in your movie.
We didn't feel it necessary.
That was a choice.
Partly, and partly because big name actors do not like to take back seat to the dinosaurs.
That's what I saw.
The three things: children, dogs, and now animation. They don't like to be upstaged by a dummy, you know, a model. But, you know, you look back at King Kong, and King Kong's name is up there with Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn, all the big stars of Hollywood, and King Kong's among them, and he was just a little dummy.
Yeah.
So, you know, it requires quite people don't realize the work that's involved in putting an artificial creature like that on the screen.
But did you have very strange and very silly things told about your work? For instance,
yes.
When King Kong was made, they said they had a real giant gorilla, or they had this actor dressed as a gorilla. And, did you have any anecdotes about your silly things that were said when you were working?
Yes, because I was very quiet about it.
For instance, did they say you have a real Gwangi in your backyard?
I know, or they say that I have a magician who concentrates and the animal moves by itself, or something like that, some crazy thing. But that's largely because I didn't want to tell how things were done. Because I feel when you're doing trick photography and trying to put pieces of film together, it's like a magician. If he tells you how he's going to pull a rabbit out of the hat, you're no longer interested.
Yeah.
And the biggest thrill of seeing King Kong is I didn't know how it was done. That was half the awesomeness of it.
But after seeing King Kong, did you figure it by yourself how it was
No,
made?
it took many years to discover stop motion. There were no books. You couldn't, and the articles that were in the paper were very misleading. So am I speaking too fast?
No, that's okay.
We're not, we're very misleading. And so there were no books that you could get in the library, but I finally talked to people who knew about animation, and I learned about it, and over a period of years I got a camera myself, and in my garage I experimented.
And do you receive letters from young people wanting you to teach them?
Yes, of course, many.
And how do you react to that? Do you
well,
do you have some
you know,
students?
a lot of people don't have the patience. They see the final product, but they don't realize what it takes to get that final
it takes
product.
you years for
Years of experience. You have to know many different things. You have to be an engineer. You have to know photography. You have to know acting. You have to know art direction, editing.
And for instance, you have to know how the muscles work.
Yes, you have to know anatomy. There are many things that I learned over the years myself and taught myself by actually doing it.
Did you ever have any students or any pupils? Or
No,
never?
no, never. That doesn't work that way. I have several admirers that worked with me, and Steve Archer was one that worked on Clash of the Titans. But it's not easy to have, you can't take a person as a pupil because many of them don't, as I said, don't realize the work that's involved. And when they see all that's necessary, they bow out.
You just give up.
That's about that.
Which movies do you go to see now?
Oh, not many, because they're too bloody.
Yeah.
They're too destructive. We used to like musicals. My wife and I would go to see a good musical. We still love the old ones that are revived on television. We love Betty Davis and Joan Crawford films. They were well made. All the Warner Brother pictures had a good quality to them. And Selznick's pictures, we have a big collection. But some of the modern pictures today, there are the exception, of course. I enjoyed very much the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Enjoyed it far more than Star Wars, but there are exceptions, are always exceptions. But the bulk of the films today are terribly gruesome. and bloody, in the true sense of the word. And I don't find that entertaining, to see somebody being chopped up in a grinder and somebody with long fingers clawing people to death, you know. To me, that's not entertainment.
It's not your cup of tea.
What fantasy movies are among the best money makers today? What do you think of that? Do you think that fantasy is going to evolve into something better or worse?
I don't know. That's difficult to predict. It depends. Everything takes a cycle. Fantasy, special effect pictures were very popular, and now they're very difficult. Not many people go to them because they've seen too many. It always takes a cycle. We had it in the 30s, we had it in the 40s, and we had it in the 60s, and now in the 80s we've had a change. The disaster pictures were popular, then love stories are popular. So it will go in a circle and cycle with new generations. But I think there's always room for fantasy, but it may not be right now, it may be in the future.
Well, you're not afraid that the bloody pictures are going to take over completely?
Well, people get tired of them. I mean, where can you go? I mean, they've scraped the bottom of the barrel by showing people's insides falling out. Where do you go from there? You know?
Would you be interested in remaking one of your movies with computer animated images instead of stop motion?
Not with computer, no. I feel that would be terribly cold and indifferent. We like to put an enthusiasm. Half the charm of King Kong was the enthusiasm that was put into the film. And you can't, I don't see how you can do that. Certain people can, but they're very limited.
It's some kind of the breath of life that you blow inside the creature.
Yeah, it's a personal feeling that I think it's hard to describe, and it sounds rather pretentious, but you sort of put yourself inside the figure. And Mrs. O'Brien used to say, Willis O'Brien's widow, used to say that she saw many things in Kong about Obi, that he put his personality in King Kong. More than just this.
But do you think there is still room in production for movies the way you used to do them? For your kind of movie, do you think there is
Well,
room?
it depends. Maybe the cycle will come again, maybe not.
But
I
for
don't
now,
know.
no.
At the moment, no, I wouldn't say so.
Why not?
Well, because number one, television has shortened the attention span, and people want everything to happen right away. Explosions. Television will try to sell you something in 20 seconds, and you have 8-frame cuts, 6-frame cuts, 10-frame cuts, bang, 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 bang. All you know. You don't know what you're really looking at, but it's telling you to buy something. And that shortens the young people's attention span, and they have no patience anymore for stories. Maybe that will come back, I don't know.
Which brings me to another question. If you had carte blanche and an unlimited budget today, what kind of movie would you do?
Well, I'd make a fantasy movie. There are a lot of things I'd like to have made, which today would be too expensive to make.
Like War of the Worlds, for example?
Well, I'd like to. I started War of the Worlds long before George Pal did, and I wanted to keep it in the period of the Victorian period as it was written. But he beat me to it. He modernized it.
What do you think of his movie?
I liked it very much. I thought he did a wonderful job. But there's room for other interpretations.
You are one of, for us, I mean, I think I speak in the name of all of us, you are one of the biggest names in the cinema, not only in fantasy, in the matter of cinema, the substance.
Bigger than Greta Garbo.
For me, much bigger, no problem. What do you think about that? Do we feel stupid with asking you that question? You know what I mean?
Well, I can't look at it from your point of view. You must see something in my work that I wouldn't see because I'm at a different angle. Everybody sees things differently, and it's really not for me to say. I do what I like and enjoy doing.
And relate with
if you enjoy it, why then you think more or less in that pattern. But there are people who hate what I do. You know?
Really?
I had a man come up to me in Berlin And he said, "Oh, you make films like Godzilla." You know, I thought, here he doesn't know what the difference between a man in a suit and animation.
Yeah.
Another man said, "Aren't you a little old to be playing with dolls?"
Oh, God.
You know, what do you say to a person? They didn't do their homework. He didn't know what this was all about. So you take it in your stride.
Yeah, that's to say they don't believe in magic.
They don't believe in fantasy. They don't. A lot of critics pan our pictures because they like realistic pictures, and they think ours are very superficial. But that's their opinion. You can't change it. So we do have a following that's kept us going for a good many years.
But it's true that you've been influencing a lot of people. I mean, most of the American directors, fantasy, I mean, Lucas, Spielberg, talk about your work as something which was quite important in their career.
Yes.
How do you feel about that? Do you feel proud? Or?
Oh yes, I'm very happy they found it much more than just an hours of entertainment. I get a lot of fan letters who say that our pictures have changed their life. Their life, you know, like King Kong changed my life. So that's very flattering. One is very happy that you made a picture that somebody saw something more than just entertainment out of it.
But you weren't aware that you were doing something that important when you were doing it. But
Well, you don't. Nobody does. I mean, U.S. Fred Astaire, I saw him being interviewed on television, and the interviewer said, "Do you realize your films are classics?" And he just laughed. He said, "All we wanted to do is make a buck." And he did it the best way he knew how. And so it's a similar answer to that. It's you don't set out to say, "I'm going to make an intellectual triumph." It either comes or with the subject matter or the group of people you have together. It's something that is a creative thing, and it's very hard to predict it when you're making it. Nobody sets out to make a bad picture. They always set out to make a good picture, even if they only have pennies. You know.
But unfortunately, it seems that most of the projects now are held by the people who's got the money.
Yes.
And there's no creative and artistic point of view.
No, there is.
So,
because most of the studios and the big companies are run by accountants and people who know how to balance the books rather than people like Harry Warner or David O. Selznick, who grew up with the business. Louis B. Mayer was a tyrant. Harry Warner and Cohen at Columbia Pictures was considered a tyrant because he was so violent. But he knew what the public wanted in entertainment, and he ran the studio the best way he knew how.
yeah, it seems that now people at the head of the studios want to put in each movie something that would appeal to a certain kind of people.
Yes.
The fact that
That's not
these movies
entertainment.
are some kind of, bastards.
Exercise in pseudo-intellectuality.
Yeah.
Yeah, Irvin Kershner told us the other day that he tries to make movies that appeal to everybody on different levels.
Yes, quite. That's the
There
ideal.
must be one thing that's appealing to kids, one thing that's appealing to teenagers,
Right.
and one thing that's appealing to people who love cinema.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that?
I think that's very true. You try to, that comes, rather than, it's very difficult to strive to do that. But it comes if you're making a picture that you yourself enjoy making.
yeah, it's a natural process.
It's a process that is very difficult to create artificially.
So what are you doing now? You're retired?
Oh, I do a lot of things. I've retired from making films. I make bronzes, and we travel a lot, my wife and I, and I do a lot of things that I enjoy doing, that I didn't have time to do before.
That's nice.
So we're not going to see your name on a movie anymore?
No, I don't think so. I couldn't stand to be tied up for 3 years on one project anymore. Time marches on.
Since you didn't find some books in your childhood about the, the animation, maybe you plan to make one about your own work?
Do what?
Do you plan to make a book, for instance, about your
I
own
did.
work? Ah, you did?
Yeah, called Film Fantasy Scrapbook.
Oh, we didn't find it in France, fortunately.
No, London reprinted it recently. Forbidden Planet put it out. And they have copies of it at Forbidden Planet. You know Forbidden Planet? Yes.
Well,
I think
yeah, I
is
think
that it?
they're going to kick us out.
Yes.
So,
Okay. Thank
to
you
leave
very much.
Thank you very
have
much.
dinner. So where do you